Hello and welcome to the password assessment section of this class. Today we're going to be creating a user account, as I affectionately call Bob. We're going to create a Bob account with a very weak password, and then we're going to run a password attack against that account. This is going to articulate how easy it is to actually go about dumping passwords from local systems, and really all passwords on a domain really, and run a password attack against them. Now in some organizations they believe that they need to crack passwords once a week, once a month, some twice a year. Personally, one of the things I don't like is cracking passwords that are currently active on the domain. If you must crack passwords, strongly try to convince management that they should not be cracking current passwords. Passwords are encrypted for a very good reason. I recommend rather cracking passwords after you do a mass password reset across the entire domain. It just is a lot cleaner that way. You know you're not cracking something that is going to show up very open and clear in some consultant's email to somebody else, which actually has happened to me a couple of times. I've actually gotten a list of cracked passwords and cracked passwords and hashes sent to me from some consultants that I've worked with in the past. So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the user account. So for that, I'm going to go start my computer. We're going to manage it. My favorite place to go because it has a bunch of stuff in one area. Event viewer, shared documents and folders, users, groups, performance, services that are running, just great one-stop shopping. Now within users, I've got a variety of different users already set up in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new user. This user is going to be Bob. Bob. His password is not going to be a very good one. His password is going to be password. After all, I do try to keep my videos less than 10 minutes for download reasons. Actually setting up a really strong password and letting Cain and Abel run against it for days probably wouldn't be too conductive to this format. So now we've created the Bob account, as you can see. And now we're going to fire up Cain. Oops, I've already got it open. Here we go. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Cain and Abel for a variety of reasons. From a security practitioner's perspective, it is very imperative that you know its capabilities. One, these are all the different passwords it can crack. Cisco, APOP, CREM, MD5, OSPF, RIP for your routing protocols, VNC, MD245, SHA-1, Radius pre-shared keys, Microsoft SQL, MySQL, Oracle, SIP hashes for voice over IP. It really is a tremendously powerful tool. It also has the capability of cracking secure IDs if you actually get a hold of the server's file. So this is an incredibly powerful tool just from cracking passwords, but it also has the capability to actually set up challenge and response and ARPing enabled. So you can actually go in and do challenge spoofing and ARP cache poisoning on a network. What does that mean? That means to you, if someone is able to get this tool on your network, they can force challenge and responses from all the users on their workstations, capture those challenges and responses, and crack them offline just by watching what gets sent to the domain controller back to the system. This is not a tool that you want in general population. This is not a tool that you want to put in your standard build. This is an extremely dangerous tool. ARP cache poisoning capabilities are always going to work on switch networks in a variety of settings, so always be careful. By the way, it also has the capability of grabbing SSIDs and passwords wirelessly. But in this situation, we're simply going to add passwords to it from my local system. So what we're going to do is we're going to import hashes from a local system. Another interesting feature about Cain and Abel is it also has the capability of including password history hashes. So if you have a particular user you think is resetting his password the same thing 4 or 5 times within a day, which does happen, it's a little bit nuts, you can include the password history hashes and see what their historical passwords are. This goes for like domain controllers. If you say remember 24 passwords, it's going to hash all of those and keep that. Cain and Abel has the capability of dumping all of those passwords, which is helpful from a trending perspective. Click Next, and as you can see, it dumps all of my user accounts and my hash values. So, one of the big things that should key off is I'm storing the landman hash and the NTLM. As you remember from your studies, the landman hash is extremely insecure and should not be used. So in this situation, we've got a whole bunch of different users, but we're just going to select Bob. We're going to run a dictionary attack, and we want to run a dictionary attack against the NTLM hash. I've preloaded a password file from John the Ripper in here because it works very well. So what we're going to do is we're going to kick it up, And some of the things you could do with its password attack is, as is, reverse, lowercase, uppercase, case permutations or camel case, and hybrid numbers. So instead of using an O, it'll use a 0, which some people think is very, very crafty. But in all honesty, Cain and Abel, Loftcrack, John the Ripper can rip through it very fast. So what we're going to do is we click Start, and immediately it comes back and it says plain text of this hash value is password. Attack is stopped. 1 of 1 hashes is cracked. And if we come back, you see that the password for Bob is password. Couple things to remember. Remember from your lessons that Windows systems do not salt their passwords. There's not that little bit of randomness. So if we went through and created another user account, let's say we went in and we did Parker's password. Let's remove all from this list. Let's go through and set Parker's password to password. There's Parker. Set his password to password. Click OK. It's been set. Go back and import local system password hashes. One of the things you're going to notice is Parker and Bob have the exact same password hash. Now, in a lot of Linux systems and Unix systems, it will salt these. So even if we set password to password on both of these accounts, it will come across different because there's a bit of salting that goes on based on the user ID, depending really on what flavor of Linux and Unix you're using. But it is a bit of randomness. So hopefully this gives you something to think about with password attacks within the network. It's something that's as old as the Cuckoo's Egg and Clifford Stoll's book, but really it's still incredibly relevant to a lot of networks. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next lesson. Thank you very much.